A huge crowd waiting to see if Ron Fellows can pull it off in the last corner as they charge towards the checkered flag. It's Spinard out front. There's the checkered flag, a victory for Richard Spinard. His hand held high in the air as they head into turn one. Spinard and Fellows close together, and a little love tap from two fine and very competitive drivers. Well, Ron Fellows gave it his all. He must be bitterly disappointed. But this day belongs to Richard Spinard, his third victory here in 4 years.
Richard Spinard, a dominant force in Canadian motorsports, prepares to add to his already impressive record. Today, the battle lines are drawn once again for the Toronto Molson Indy. Racing fans return to Toronto for this annual pilgrimage of racing as old adversaries meet again and the fires of competition are rekindled. Following a week of events leading up to this weekend's race finals, the fans, the drivers, the media have gathered from all over North America to this makeshift street circuit to witness one of Canada's premier motorsport events, the Players Limited GM Motorsport Series. From one of North America's most exciting temporary road courses, the Toronto Molson Indy.
The GM Motorsport Hour, brought to you by General Motors of Canada Limited and by Quality GM Parts, Players Limited of Canada, Priority Courier, and Sony of Canada.
Well, our champion, though, at the Molson Indy, first place winner is out of Shannonville, Ontario.
So, as we remember Spinard's exciting '89 victory, today we return to Toronto for the 1990 Players Limited GM Motorsport Eastern Series Molson Indy race from Toronto's Exhibition Place. 1990 marks the 5th anniversary for the IndyCar and Players Limited GM Series to visit this temporary road course through the streets of Toronto. Racing fans from the United States and Canada continue to return for this annual racing extravaganza. The Molson Indy really is a racing fan's dream, with a 3-day schedule of events consisting of competitions featuring a variety of other racing vehicles, in addition to the Indy cars. It also gives both the fans, the teams, everyone an opportunity to get a closer look at each other as racing time gets closer. Earlier in qualifying, the Players Limited GM drivers had their one chance to make the top 6, which again would be lined up in inverted order for the start. Unfortunately, sometimes the drivers overextend themselves. We're in car here with Sean Grossman. He approaches turn 1 at racing speed, pushes it too much. The result is obvious. Now, this costly mistake unfortunately eliminated Sean from competition due to the severe damage his car suffered. Sean himself fine. He walked away from the accident unmarked. A true testament to the safety of these vehicles. Then the track claims another car. Catherine Teasdale, the lone female competitor in the Eastern Series, hits the wall and damages her car. No time to repair the damage. She too is eliminated from competition. Another competitor who found the wall with his car is Kenny Wilden, but beyond cosmetic damage, Wilden's fast performance set a new lap speed record.
Well, hitting the wall isn't the best thing to do at the Molson Indy, but we managed to touch it just a little bit. It was the first lap of qualifying. The tires weren't quite up to what heat range that we needed to give us a stick. So, we touched the wall, just brushed it, and kept going and hit our fastest lap the next lap.
With the inverted grid starting system, the 6th fastest qualifier takes the pole today. John Cadman Jr., our pole sitter.
Starting on the pole here in Toronto is new for me, but it's not new altogether. I started on the pole twice in 1988, and last year we didn't have so great luck. But this is the first time this year. I'm not too concerned about it.
But the guy to watch today for round 7 with a brilliant racing record, Richard Spinard, and his number 42 Camaro. He'll undoubtedly be in the hunt for the podium, but will 1990 be win number 4 for the current Eastern Series point leader, Richard Spinard?
I definitely going to try to make it 4 out of 5. I won the first 3. Not the first 3. I won 3 out of 4 so far, and my goal is to win 4 out of 5. But, you can't predict, and the car's working fairly well so far. I like this track. I do a good job on it, so if I can go through the first lap without any incident, I think we have a good chance at it.
Richard Bernard comfortable on top in these Eastern standings. His teammate David Empringham not far away, though, followed by Ron Fellows, Ken Weldon, Robin Buck, all hoping to gain points and prize money. Now, in addition to our Eastern drivers, the Western Series have entered a 4-driver contingent for today's Molson Indy, with the likes of '89 Western Series Rookie of the Year Trevor Siebert, Kevin Dowler, 3-time Western Series champion Frank Allers, and his teammate Tony Morris.
Well, they're very competitive. I have a lot of respect for the Eastern guys. I think we can run with them. I know we can run with them. It's just a matter of learning a few of their flaws, just like we do with our own guys when we run with them. And once we figure them out a little bit, we'll be able to give them a good go.
The actual reason why we're here is not so much running in the Eastern Series, but it's to prepare ourselves, our team, our Mohawk racing team, for the event in Vancouver.
I think the strategy here will be to go for a 5th or 6th so we can get the front row. It's a huge advantage on a track like this. We're not interested in getting the points for qualifying because we're not running the series regularly.
Well, I think our competition is the whole field. I think this is one thing that you've got to remember about coming from the West is the boys in the East like to show us what they can do. And they're great drivers, like ace drivers, #1. So we've got the whole field of 20-odd cars to fight against. So, yeah, Ronnie Fellows, Rob, Kenny, Wilden, I think our teammates here, Richard and David Empringham, they're all a competition for us, but it's good, clean, healthy competition, and I'd like to stay up with these guys, and I'd like to win. But if I don't, I'll feel good up with the same boys that are around the East all the time.
The 7th round of the Players Limited GM Motorsport Series is going to happen right here on the streets of Toronto, literally, at Exhibition Place. It's quite a weekend. It's the 5th anniversary of the Molson Indy. So, I mean, talk about a gala affair. Everyone wanted to be here. Some of the gang came out of retirement, literally, to be a part of this show, and a lot of the crew are from Western Canada as well. They want to gain some fame here in the East. Interesting, too, to look at this grid. Sure, you're going to find Johnny Cadman again up in that front row. He was 6th fastest. The man who was swiftest, though, was Kenny Weldon. Ken has got himself a little bit of extra money, but also he's got to start back in this 3rd row. It's a tricky course. They're going to have their go at it right now.
It's a tricky course indeed for the 28 cars that are lined up on the starting grid. Even the IndyCar drivers say this is one of the best temporary road circuits in the world. Whistle blown and the cars are being flagged out onto their pace lap. Let's have a look now at this 2.87 kilometer temporary circuit in Toronto. Into turn 1. A good place on this circuit to pass, as we can see from inside Robin Buck's car. Look at the surface changes where this circuit has been patched over the winter. Some frost heaves created some bumps, and because of the surface change, the track's very slippery in parts. Some of the drivers running into the wall as a result during practice and qualifying. Then the course heads on to the fastest portion, down the Lakeshore Boulevard, the back straightaway. Players Limited GM cars will be hitting more than 190 kilometers an hour on this section. You can see Robin Buck weaving back and forth on this pace lap. He's trying to heat up his tires to proper racing temperature in anticipation of the green flag. Sitting beside him in car number 71 is John Cadman Jr., who has the pole position. In top gear, 190 kilometers an hour, leading into a 2nd gear, right-hand hairpin, the best place on the track to pass. The drivers do it under braking here. We watch Robin Buck through the right-hander, slight uphill grade, sweeping left-hander, grabbing 3rd gear. He'll move all the way out to the right-hand side, close to the wall, to nail this 90-degree left-hander, which leads into a very deceiving corner. This right-hander is a long sweeper. Constant pressure on the throttle midway through the turn, and then very slowly squeeze on the throttle to head into the narrow part of the circuit, but also a fast part. Up into 4th gear, and the 3rd place on the circuit that's good to pass, the 90-degree right-hander at the end of this straightaway. He'll be gathering a lot of speed through this right-hand kink. You can see all the skid marks on the road, indicative of how good this is to pass on this corner. Up through the gears, 3rd gear, sweeping left-hander, gathering speed, then hard on the throttle, right down the start-finish straight.
Our honorary starter, George Peoples, president of General Motors in Canada, standing by with Kathy Lee Crosby, our special guest. The crowd are anticipating, in fact, a record-setting crowd at Exhibition Place. We'll be back for the green flag and the start of this Indy run right after this break. biggest field of the year in the East, coming through in nice order in anticipation of the start of round 7 of the $700,000 Players Limited GM Motorsport Series here at Exhibition Place. And here's Paul Chater with that starting grid.
On the pole position in car number 71, John Cadman Jr., the 6th fastest qualifier. Beside him on row 1, Robin Buck, the winner of the 1989 shootout, driving a 91 Firebird. In row 2, Rob Fellows, Mackenzie Financial Sunoco Gold Camaro number 2. Beside him, winner 3 out of 4 times on this track, Richard Spinard in a 91 Camaro. On row 3, Doug Beattie Jr. And the fastest qualifier, Kenny Wilden, winner of the Sunoco Gold Fastest Qualifier Award.
On behalf of Sunoco dealers across Ontario and Quebec, it's my pleasure to present Ken Wilden with the Sunoco Gold Fastest Qualifier Award. Congratulations and good luck.
Thanks very much. And on row 4, it's uncharacteristic to see David Empringham out of the top 6. He'll start on row 4 beside Peter Cohen from Montreal in an 89 Camaro.
We mentioned this record-setting field, Paul. Row 5, Ronnie Fellows, the reigning champion, well back with Terry Betts beside him.
Frank Allers, number 12, starting position. He's the top driver from the Western Series.
7th row from the West, Kevin Dowler. Up from the States, Scott Legacy on that row as well. And again from the West, Siebert and Morris.
On the outside of row 9, the leading rookie in the series so far in car number 7, Chris Davies.
Looking at row 11, we have to note Howie Scannell, whose dad gained a lot of fame in the ovals here in Southern Ontario. He's going to try a road course again, Paul.
And Jeffrey Pabst in car number 4. He's in 2nd now in the rookie standings in the series.
Richard Waugh spent a lot of time in the guardrail up at Mont Tremblant. In fact, appears to be repaired and ready to run here at Exhibition Place.
And as they head down towards the start in the green flag, Jim, tricky circuit because of the left-hand sweeper before the starter stand. The drivers at the back of the grid can't see the flag when it's waved.
They're coming through very gently. We've had a number of strange things that have happened here at Exhibition Place with this field in the past, Paul. They don't want it to happen this year.
And there's the green flag in the middle of your screen right now. That's John Cadman Jr. in the black car, number 71. Diving inside him as they head into turn 1 is Rob Fellows in car number 2. And Fellows has managed to pick up first place. And Robin Buck sideways, he glances off the wall in the red car number 34 as they head out onto the straight.
The rest of the field coming through in pretty good order now as they get into the fastest part of the course here on that Lakeshore straightaway. And look at Rob Fellows not running away. Cadman is hanging right onto him there.
Richard Spinard running in 3rd spot. Now, from inside Spinard's car, let's look at what happened in turn 1. There's Cadman directly in front of him in car 71, very close to Robin Buck. You can see they almost touched. Rob Fellows screaming up the inside. A beautiful start for him. He takes over first place. Now watch Robin Buck. He cuts through in front of Spinard, loses control of the car. Big slide. He's almost completely sideways. Spinard gets through unscathed. Rob Fellows, meanwhile, runs away with the lead with Cadman in 2nd place.
Marvelous replay. Let's have a look at this again from Kenny Wilden's car. And this time we spot Ken, of course, right up on Richard Spinard. His view.
Kenny has taken a wide line through turn 1 on the far left side of the circuit. You can see Robin Buck just over to the right, getting a little squirrely. Now Robin gets the car into a slide, overcorrects, and he gets it counter sliding. It's back and forth. He's sawing furiously away at the steering wheel and getting ever closer to the wall, and then bang. Not a hard smash, but he did glance off the wall, and he has undoubtedly done some damage.
It's going to be enough to slow him down off the start here. We're at turn 3 now. Slowest part of the course here, Paul. An abrupt right, and Rob Fellows handles it nicely. The rest of the field, they do make it through, actually without too many door handles banging there, Paul.
Well, Rob Fellows jumped right from the start, got a good start into turn 1, and he's leading John Cadman Jr. in car number 71. Let's watch them through this fast right-hand sweeper. There's Cadman, 71, Spinard. And right behind him, Doug Beattie Jr. holding his own against some of the best in the series.
You know, actually, Doug Beattie is having one of his better runs again of the year. The young man has become very aggressive as the season goes by. He can do nothing but learn from Spinard if he can hang on here. But Rob Fellows, the race leader off the top.
And Fellows and Cadman starting to open up a gap over Spinard in car number 42. Behind him, Doug Beattie Jr. running in 4th spot. And we should watch for Robin Buck. He's the only Firebird in the top running group. All the others are Camaros. We should watch car number 34 to see what kind of damage he did when he hit the wall.
First lap is down. This is dramatic where they swing out of the final corner and literally right up against that start-finish wall, Paul. It's where things can happen, and they're starting to happen here in corner 1. Look at Cadman fly by.
A brave pass under braking, and he got the car sliding very close to the part of the wall that Robin Buck hit on the first lap. Cadman, a beautiful pass. right past Rob Fellows, and now they're heading down the back straight. We should watch Fellows to retaliate as they head into turn 3. Let's have another look at it.
Okay, Cadman, timing this nicely on the inside, and you're right, I'm not sure he braked at all, in fact, Paul. He literally steams right by Rob Fellows in the number 2 Sunoco entry, and there's young John Cadman Jr. now leading at exhibition place.
Spinard sitting back in car number 42, watching all this go on. It's a hot day, and the drivers have to be concerned about their brakes and their tires. Spinard is a master at saving both, and he's probably not likely to use them up in the first 2 laps.
Now, we spotted Rob Fellows there, kind of poking that nose again here on the inside, so obviously he's doing everything he can quickly to try to size John Cadman Jr. up and attempt to get by. You want to be leading here, or one of these front 5-6 cars, Paul, at exhibition place. It's pretty tricky. There's 1 or 2 spots where you can really have a go, and I think Rob is just waiting for the next spot to show up here.
There's Cadman Jr., number 71. Rob Fellows behind him. Richard Spinard, Doug Beattie Jr. running in 4th place, and then a gap back to the 5th place car, starting to pull up on the rest of the field. Cadman is well in command here. He's showing a lot of maturity, leading Rob Fellows and Spinard, 2 of the toughest competitors in the series.
Watching the master there, Richard Spinard. Now, a beautiful overview, and literally from this view, Paul, you can see that Cadman is now beginning to get away. That's not going to be good news for Rob Fellows. We may look at Spinard then, trying to get by Rob, and maybe he'll have a go. He has, after all, sort of dominated activity here at exhibition place in the past.
So far, Spinard content to sit in 3rd place, but he's moving up closely as they head through turn 2 behind Rob Fellows. We should watch to see if Spinard attempts to pass him at the end of the Lakeshore Boulevard.
And for Doug Beattie Jr., I think Doug has to keep in mind he's got some great talent behind him, like Kenny Wilden. We've got David Embring, not a factor yet, but they're bound to be before this race is over, Paul.
Here goes Spinard. He's going to try it under braking into turn 3. Hard on the brakes, down into 2nd gear. Inside Rob Fellows. Rob has no place to go, and Spinard's got 2nd place. Now he can set off after Cadman.
Oh, look out now, ladies and gentlemen, and believe me, they are on their feet, this record-setting crowd at exhibition place, because they know the talents of Spinard at this venue.
And much to my surprise, Robin Buck's still running in 5th. Now let's have a look at the pass from Doug Beattie's viewpoint. There's Spinard moving to the inside. He's got the draft. Watch the brake lights as they come into turn 3. Brake lights on. The first one to hit the brakes, surprisingly, was Rob Fellows, who's in the better track position. Spinard moved to the inside, left his braking very late, and just slipped up on the inside. Beautiful. That's a textbook pass.
Surprise to me, I guess, Paul, as to why Rob would have put the brakes on that early, but boy, he did not play this corner well. Spinard is through. You almost get the feeling here that Doug Beattie was thinking for a moment, hey, maybe I'll follow along as well.
Well, Fellows was forced wide out to the left side of the circuit. Beattie saw an opening, but it just didn't stay there long enough.
In the meantime, they are beginning to string out a little bit as we hone in again on Rob Fellows, who now has got Doug Beattie right up on his tailpipe. And by golly, you know, Doug just may make a move here before long. It's only about a car length that is separating them. Leader now literally beginning to run away. Cadman looking very strong out front.
But you can see that Spinard, once he got past Fellows, he started to open up some ground. He's actually gaining on Cadman. You can expect John Cadman to start staring in his mirrors as they head down the back straightaway. Spinard's not in a position yet to pass. He's not close enough to be able to use the draft on the Lakeshore Boulevard, but it looks like he's getting closer.
That trio a little further back here, kind of fun to watch. There's Doug Beattie, we've got Robin Buck, then Kenny Wilden, David Embringham. I think they're all about to start making moves, but they're taking it very gently off the top here at exhibition place, maybe because of memories out of the past, Paul.
Well, it's still early in the event. In 20 laps, they've got to be careful to conserve their tires and their brakes in this heat. This track is very demanding on the brake pads.
Watching further back in the field, Peter Cohen was trying to make a little move to the outside. You can't miss his yellow equipment. He'll be by in view again very shortly. But in the meantime, the real war is happening right here, and it is still a tight one. Oh, and heading that runoff road, one of our visitors out of British Columbia, Tony Morris. He was running about 14th at the time. Not a factor, Paul, and thank goodness he doesn't go into any of the tire walls of the concrete. He recovers the car and gets back into the event, but loses a few notches there.
Now, Kenny Wilden running right behind Robin Buck. You have to wonder what Wilden's strategy is. Buck is obviously driving a wounded car, even though he's running in 5th place and a strong 5th place. That car, you have to wonder whether it's going to last for the rest of the event.
You know, the one man who's not been a factor at all is the reigning champion, Ron Fellows. He's running well back in this field, and that is a bit of a surprise, I think, to everyone gathered here at Exhibition Place today as we watch our front runners one more time and the real war that is taking... Oh, look at that. In fact, Doug Beattie about to make a move. That's 4 laps down. And young John Cadman Jr., to the surprise of everyone, the leader up to those 4 laps. There'll be more right after this. We're back in the 7th lap of round 7 of the Players Limited GM Motorsport Series at Exhibition Place in Toronto. I'm Jim Paulson with Paul Chater, and still young John Cadman Jr. in front, Paul.
With Richard Spinard there in the red and white car, number 42, running in 2nd place. There's Cadman onto the Lakeshore Boulevard, followed by Spinard. Rob Fellows behind him, Robin Buck, and Kenny Wilden in front of Doug Beatty Jr. Beatty in car number 11 slipped back in position. Kenny Wilden, car number 17, up now into 5th spot.
Well, this young man, John Cadman Jr., out of Cayuga in southern Ontario, which is really oval race country, he's got the current series point leader, Richard Spinard, right up in his tailpipe.
And he must be feeling the pressure as they head into Exhibition Place. There's Cadman, number 71, out front, right behind him, Spinard, and a gap now back to Rob Fellows in car number 2.
You know, this gang from the West is putting on a great show here today. Trevor Siebert having a real war with Kevin Dowler, which really leads to our players' profile today, the Western Series pilots in our Players Limited GM Motorsport Series.
One top Western contender is 44-year-old Tony Morris. And 24-year-old Kevin Dowler is our first focus today. Dowler, an Edmonton, Alberta native, had an early start to his racing career.
Well, I've been racing since I was 11 years old. I started out go-kart racing. I got support from everyone. My father comes to the races with me, and you know, my mother's a big part of it. My crew chief, he's been with me for 3 years now. You know, it's great.
Kevin's young, aggressive driving style shows through in his persistence with the series. He is looking forward to a successful 1990 season and the upcoming Vancouver Indy on his own Western turf.
I want to win the West Series this year. Right now we're running 4th in points. We've had a couple of tough breaks this year. We keep, you know, I don't know if it's our consistency or what, but we fall off the track, and when you fall off the track, you just don't get those valuable points. We haven't got any qualifying points this year, so we'll just have to keep plugging away at it.
Another Western Series competitor is Tony Morris, a 44-year-old Port Moody, BC native. He finished 2nd in 87 and 88 and 5th in 89. Since his entry to the series in 87, Morris has consistently qualified in the top 6.
It's been a long time since I've been out of race cars. I've been in race cars for the last, well, over 20 years, and I just love it. You know, it's a great experience. I think I like the downhill ski, and I think it's the closest thing in the summertime to downhill skiing, so I just love it. I've been doing it a long time and intend to keep on going.
Morris intends to lead the way in the Western Series as his family members follow in his footsteps. The Morris clan really is a motorsport family.
I have a wife and 2 kids. One's 18 and one's 20. Tony Morris Jr. is running the Honda Michelin Series in the West right now and leading it by a long shot and has won 3 races. So I guess he's following in my footsteps, and Junior Morris, Mark, the younger one, is just about to get back into go-karts again. He ran go-karts about 4 years ago, so it's a real racing family. And my wife, Gay, is an artist, and she paints all day and keeps right away from motorsport and has nothing to do with it, and I think that's what keeps relationships together.
We're back at Exhibition Place on the 8th lap. John Cadman Jr. is the race leader, and a handy lead he has got, Paul.
Showing great maturity, he hasn't given up the lead since he passed Rob Fellows on lap 2.
Still sitting in 2nd, of course, Richard Spinard, but here's a real little war that's happening right here. Kenny Wilden and Robin Buck really having a go at each other now in the fight for 4th and 5th.
Now we have to watch Robin Buck in car number 34. You can see the damage to the left side of his car where he hit the wall right there, and he almost did it again. Heading out onto the Lakeshore Boulevard, Kenny Wilden right behind him, Doug Beatty Jr., car number 11, and then David Empringham, who is surprisingly out of this race.
Yeah, you get the feeling that David is about to make a move very shortly as well. But in the meantime, let's watch how Kenny Wilden can work Robin Buck. He is keeping that nose just a little to the inside. Now makes a move, Paul.
Here he goes, under braking, the best place on the track to do some passing. Hard on the brakes. Robin Buck, a little bit of smoke from his tires, and he just couldn't hold off Kenny Wilden. Wilden's picked up another spot, a nice pass.
Okay, Wilden is by, and now you know Doug Beatty Jr. is going to be working on Robin Buck, who seems to have backed off a little bit at this stage. Kenny Wilden with that masterful pass one more time, now running 4th overall. Buck is back in 5th place, and Doug Beatty Jr. in 6th.
Now let's have a look at that pass when Kenny Wilden went by. Robin Buck going into the hairpin. From Doug Beatty Jr.'s car, we can see Kenny pulls out of the slipstream to the inside. Brake lights go on about the same time, but Kenny's still a fair distance back. Robin has locked up his tires a little bit. We can see some smoke coming off the right side rubber, and Kenny just slips through nicely on the inside. Robin Buck really couldn't move over at all. And we see Robin now coming out of the corner. He's got the car in a slide. They were both really hot into that turn.
I must say that Doug Beatty looked a little hot in that corner as well. He got in right up against that wall, but we're back with Kenny Wilden in front of Robin Buck. And again, they're coming down to the start-finish area where they'll tug up very tightly against the wall.
And through this fast left-hander on the front straightaway. That's a scary corner. In fact, Mario Andretti, who's here for the IndyCar race, has said that's probably the scariest corner on any temporary circuit he's driven.
Here are the current leaders. John Cadman Jr., Richard Bernard running well out in front. Race action getting hot and heavy at Exhibition Place, and we'll be right back with more. And here is our Goodyear mid-race leader at Exhibition Place, John Cadman Jr., still leading this field around.
And there's Kenny Wilden, number 17 in the Tide car. He just slipped by Robin Buck, number 34, going down the straight, not doing it under braking into this corner. He just blew right past him. So Kenny Wilden's now in 4th spot.
Okay, we watch Rob Fellows fly by, and there's Kenny Wilden and Robin Buck having another go at him, in fact. Kenny's slid right out.
Oh, Kenny really overcooked it in that corner. Got way off the line in a big slide, and the marbles out on the outside of the circuit, and he slammed into the wall. It doesn't really seem to have slowed him down too much, though. He's only lost 2 positions.
Well, I'll tell you, there was no way that Robin Buck and Doug Beatty Jr. were even going to pause when Kenny made that bobble, and does not appear to be that much damage. Well, he's going to try to fight back, but so are others.
Yeah, and there goes David Empringham in car number 45. He got right past Kenny. Let's have another look at it now. Wilden's a little bit off his line. He's hard on the brakes in here, trying to hold off Robin Buck's charge up the inside, and he just too much power. He's off in the slippery stuff now. He can't collect it, bangs the rear off the wall, and gets it straightened out. Robin Buck goes by, Doug Beatty Jr. goes by. Now let's have a look at it from Kenny's viewpoint as he turns into the left-hander, and there the slide starts right there at the apex of the turn. It gets worse. He tries to collect it, but now he's into the loose stuff and bang, into the wall.
He was probably hoping maybe I can just grab some tires here, but in fact he missed them as well, Paul, and went directly into the concrete. But you can see here that he does recover nicely as the other two fly by him.
This really is an unforgiving circuit. Those tire walls aren't too plentiful, and when you make a mistake here, you usually collect some concrete.
So here's Robin Buck just ahead of Doug Beatty Jr., who gets a bit of a slide.
Oh, and over the new pavement, Doug handled that very well. He managed to hold on to it. Kenny Wilden having some problems we can see farther back there. There's Wilden. He's being challenged by David Empringham down the straight, and Doug Beatty Jr. in car number 11 moving down the center of the circuit.
Look at David Empringham now. Number 45 is working the outside of the track. He is working number 11, Doug Beatty Jr. They are literally nose to nose coming down the fastest part of the course. Kenny Wilden tucks in. He decides on Empringham.
Doug had the proper line through that turn, and he's come out ahead with Empringham behind, Kenny Wilden behind them. They're having a great fight here. There's Robin Buck in car number 34 through, Doug Beatty Jr., then David Empringham, 45, and Kenny Wilden.
What if Kenny isn't thinking now, maybe I should have followed Doug Beatty Jr. instead of Empringham at that point?
Boy, Kenny's using up a lot of road. Look at him slide coming out here really close to the wall. The tail end of that car very twitchy.
Once again, there's David Empringham, the Motormaster entry, sitting right behind Doug Beatty Jr., but it's Wilden, in fact, who is contemplating a move here. Pokes that nose again to the inside, thinks better of it.
Kenny's obviously angry that he made that mistake in front of Robin Buck, and he's trying to gain back some of the position. He's close enough now to Empringham as they head towards the start-finish straight to try to pass David going into turn 1. He's got to stay right tight with him, though, as they go through this left-hand kink.
to gain your spot, Doug Beatty Jr. swing right up against that wall. He's followed very tightly by Empringham, who now moves to the outside. Nope, he'll tuck in on him one more time. Kenny Wilden running. Which way are these guys going? He's not sure which one of these two cars he may have to follow. I get a feeling we may see another side-by-side situation here on the straightaway, Paul.
The track is getting slippery. We could see Empringham through turns 1 and 2 how much his car was sliding around. Look at Doug Beatty Jr.'s tactic in car number 11. He's moving right over to the right-hand side of the circuit to prevent Empringham from passing him under braking. But David's going to have a run at it anyway.
Look at this. He has decided, nope, I'm going to go for the inside, and maybe I can elbow him out of here. He does it, in fact. David Empringham, the number 45 Motormaster entry. And he not only takes Doug Beatty, looks like Wilden is trying to get by.
Wilden's not in good track position, though, for the left-hander after this. Doug Beatty's got him on that score. But Kenny Wilden's sticking right with him.
A little further back, in fact, we're looking, there's the man, Ron Fellows, number 1, the reigning champion, but running well back in the field. Let's go in car with Kenny Wilden here.
And watch the pass from David Empringham trying to go around Doug Beatty Jr. You can see he dives right over to the right-hand side of the circuit on the brakes hard, and it's just a game of chicken now to see who can dive deeper into the corner. Empringham won that one.
Okay, and this is where Kenny Wilden finds himself right up and literally beside Doug Beatty Jr. Let's see what happens. No, if you keep an eye to the left of the screen, he cannot pull it off. Beatty holds him up.
Back now, there's number 45, Empringham. He's got Doug Beatty Jr. right behind him. Oh, and we've got a car off the circuit.
And a great cloud of dust. We can't even make out who it is. It's Paul Lawler, number 57. He runs out of New Liskeard, Ontario. One thing, a comment on Paul while we have him on camera here. He travels further than anyone to each of these events. And here are the race leaders after 11 laps. Still John Cadman Jr. well out in front. There's a lot more heated action to come right after this. So here we are in Kenny Wilden's pit. The yellow flag is out on lap 12 here at Exhibition Place. The incident, of course, involving Paul Lawler in number 57, and there's the Lawler car just being pushed back now, Paul.
Well, it looked to us like he fried his engine and spread oil all over the corner, which is a tremendous mess for the course workers, the volunteers out here with the flags and the safety equipment to clean up. So they've put out the yellow flags. The oil flags are out as well to warn the drivers that this corner is now very slippery.
So, with a little quiet on the track, let's go to our Priority Courier up-close feature on Frank Allers.
"41-year-old Coquitlam, BC native Frank Allers returns in 1990 for his 4th season of competition. Allers has 3 consecutive Western Series championships to his credit, but still has one special goal to accomplish when competing against Eastern Series drivers.
Well, I've won the West Series 3 times. Obviously, I'd like to go for a 4th, but the real goal is to be the first guy out of the region to win I'd like to win an East Series race before they win a West Series race.
Toronto's temporary Molson Indy road course demands precise execution from both driver and car.
I love street circuits generally anyways. This track is really good. It really keeps the driver busy. There's a couple of really, well, the corner past the pits is a real test. You can just about take it flat out. There's first gear, first and second gear corners, so it's a good mix here.
With Frank Allers' impressive racing credentials, this Western Series champion still has one opponent to beat.
Well, for me, I'd like to beat Richard Spinard.
And back at the race action in Chris Davies' car, number 7, following Frank Allers, in fact, number 12, who's got Kevin Dowler, number 5, just ahead of him. So we are looking at Frank at this point, running about 15th overall with the number 5 car. Again, Kevin Dowler, 14th place, and Chris Davies obviously back here in 16th. Still, though, our leading rookie of the year, Paul.
And into the hairpin at the end of the straight, Chris Davies, number 7, chasing Frank Allers, who was a former roommate of the gentleman who's sitting on the pole for the IndyCar race this weekend, Danny Sullivan.
Here are the race leaders, John Cadman Jr. and Richard Spinard, number 42, is not letting young John Cadman get away in the number 71 vehicle out of Cayuga, Ontario. In fact, the two of them putting quite a bit of distance between themselves and the rest of the field, Paul.
Rob Fellows running in 3rd spot, and he's well off the pace. Robin Buck is behind him now. Look at this battle we've got running for 6th, 7th, and 8th. It's a good race here between Doug Beatty Jr. and car number 11 Kenny Wilden, who thumped the wall a few laps ago in car number 17, and right behind him, Peter Cohen in car number 66.
Well, suddenly Peter, the young man out of Montreal, is becoming a little bit of a factor here, doing what he can to learn something off of Kenny Wilden, and you know he's going to try to get by soon. Then comes Ron Fellows, the number 1 Sunoco entry.
Ron, a frequent winner in this series in the last couple of years. This is his only appearance in 1990. Now watch, Kenny Wilden having a look inside Doug Beatty Jr. as they head into the hairpin. He decides not to, and surprisingly, Peter Cohen, who was within striking distance as well, has decided to stay in 8th place.
You know, you almost got the feeling that Kenny was on the edge of maybe just giving Doug a little urging there, but he decides better of that, and Doug Beatty continues to lead the war here between this trio, a little further back, but it's really the one to watch at this point.
Kenny Wilden's car doesn't seem to be handling as well as the other two. He's fighting with at the moment. I think when he struck the wall a few laps ago that it has done something to upset the handling and the suspension on the car. We can see how much he slides through some of the slower corners. Watch Peter Cohen now, the third car in the picture, the white one, number 66 out of Montreal. He's sizing up Kenny Wilden for a pass.
Keep in mind, they're fighting for $25,000 in prize money here at Exhibition Place today. And of course, those points are very important as far as the overall series is concerned. So the difference between 6th, 7th, and 8th can really matter when it comes down to hard cash as we get back to our leaders' ball.
Number 71, John Cadman, well in command of this race. Richard Spinard not close within striking distance to pass Cadman at all as they head down the Lakeshore Boulevard.
John Cadman Jr., totally in command. Hard to believe. Mind you, he was showing little hints that he was coming on in that last event at Tremblant, Paul.
There's Robin Buck, number 34. David Empringham, 45. Doug Beatty Jr., number 11. And there's Kenny Wilden with Peter Cohen, number 66, right behind him. Cohen dives down onto the inside.
Peter is back in 4th. He decides, no, I think I'm more comfortable here on the inside. I can do Wilden here. And in fact, he tucks right in against the wall and does it very neatly. Kenny just drops right off the pace there.
Cohen a little off his line coming out of the corner, got the car kind of squirrely. Kenny Wilden wasn't able to take advantage of it. So Peter Cohen has picked up a position. He's now in 7th spot.
Good fight happening here, and that one has not been decided yet. There's still a ways to go. Let's have a replay on it, in fact, Paul. Kind of fun to watch them dive back and forth here.
Onto the Lakeshore Boulevard, Peter Cohen spent very little time in the draft behind Kenny Wilden, which is surprising. He immediately moved to the inside of the track to try to outbrake him into the hairpin. Now they're hard on the brakes here, down through the gears, and he's very cleanly through.
This is really where it's happening. The war for 6th, 7th, and 8th place overall. It's been resolved for the moment. And here is Doug Beatty, number 11, the EDS entry, now leading the battle.
There's 4th place, number 34. Robin Buck, behind him David Empringham, then a gap back to 6th place, number 11, Doug Beatty Jr., and he now has Peter Cohen to contend with. In 7th place, Kenny Wilden running 8th in a damaged car.
Again, in this overview, Beatty, Cohen, Wilden still sitting well back of our race leaders as they come back to the start-finish line. And still Doug Beatty holding them off, eyes glued to that rearview mirror, and now Cohen has a go.
Cohen looks up the outside, an unusual place to an attempt to pass in turn 1. Kenny Wilden takes advantage of it, moves a little closer. Doug Beatty Jr. was on the inside of the circle a little bit to shut off a pass from Cohen. A good tactical move that worked.
Into the fast part of the course one more time on Lakeshore. Here they come, and Doug Beatty is doing it faster than the other two at this stage. Can he hold on to it as we watch our race leaders come by? Then back to this fight for 6th place, and Cohen is thinking of it again.
Thinking, but he's not going to try it this time. He really just looked up the inside. I guess he decided he didn't have enough brakes left to go around Doug Beatty Jr. Cohen still coming out of that turn very tight and getting the car sliding around a lot. Doug Beatty Jr. able to hold him off with car number 11, and Kenny Wilden starting to drop off the pace a little bit.
It really is. In some of those corners, in fact, Paul, he seems to be coming out of them wide. He's losing it a little bit. Might be a sign that the brakes or tires are softening up a little bit on him at this stage of the race.
Well, he probably scrubbed the right side rubber a little bit up against the wall, and he's probably damaged those tires, which is the reason he's running farther back than we're used to seeing him.
Keep in mind, you've got that reigning champion, number 1. The other Sunoco entry, Ron Fellows, is within striking distance of these three, so we'll see how serious this battle becomes. Ron still has a situation here where he could take some advantage.
We're not used to seeing Ron run this far back, but it's his first race this season in this series. He hasn't had time to set the car up, and he also has another race, the Formula Atlantic event today as well, so he's been a busy boy this weekend.
Actually, it's Ron Fellows and Frank Ellers that are running double events on this day, so we are keeping them busy. And
back with the leaders, number 71, John Cadman.
Back to our leaderboard, showing Cadman Jr. in front, Spinard, Fellows, Empringham, and this is going to be interesting as we get to the end at Exhibition Place. Don't go away. Lap 17 at Exhibition Place in Toronto, 7th round of the Players Limited GM Motorsport Challenge for 1990, and John Cadman Jr., our race leader, Richard Bernard, right with him.
He hasn't looked back since he took the lead away at the start of the race. Now, look at this. Frank Allers in car number 12. Big slide coming through the hairpin. He got dangerously close to the wall.
Boy, I'll tell you, in fact, David Boyle took advantage of that immediately in number 14, and he flew by Frank Allers, and of course, trying to hang on is Frank out of Coquitlam, BC. He wants to impress this Eastern crowd if he can, Paul.
Here comes John Cadman Jr. in car number 71, the leader, Richard Spenard, in second place. Spenard has not had a serious run at Cadman through this entire event. They've stayed about the same distance apart, and Spenard really hasn't closed up at all.
You know, I was thinking back to that last war, the doubleheader weekend up at Tremblant, where these guys were really all over each other. Talk about a totally different complexion here at Exhibition Place. Quite a different race, Ball.
I'm surprised at Spenard. Now, we're inside with him in second place in car number 42, down the Lakeshore Boulevard. Cadman in front of him, hard on the brakes for the hairpin. Spenard closes up a little bit, but he's not within striking distance.
And look at this, they're already dealing with back markers here, which we don't see that often, I might add, in the Players Limited GM Motorsport Series, but it could be a factor as well here in a moment or two. Well, not for John Cadman, a beautiful pass, and yeah, no way. In fact, Ted Powell was right out of the line of attack there.
Now, as they get into traffic, this may be to Spenard's advantage. His experience, his coolness under fire, much more so than John Cadman in car number 71. Spenard may be able to close up enough to attempt a pass. Watch now from Spenard's car as they head into this tight right-hander. He's very smooth, using all the roadway back out to the right-hand side for the fast left-hander. Third gear, heading towards the start-finish straight. He's behind Cadman, but doesn't seem to be closing the gap.
And again, they're so tight on these walls as they dive back and forth and back to the start-finish line. Here they put another lap down, and now young Cadman has got to be thinking checkered flag. He may get a win this year, Paul.
He's been very smooth, very consistent. We haven't seen him lock up a wheel in any of the corners. He's not sliding the car around very much, and he's picking his way through traffic extremely well. Spenard's going to have to expect something dramatic if he's going to win this race.
Again, continuing this drama, we're back in car with Richard Spenard. Here is the king, and he wants to keep that title if he possibly can, especially at this track, Paul.
Now, watch the slower cars up ahead as they go into the twisty part of the circuit. This is where Spenard can make up some time. Hard on the brakes. Cadman's watching the slower cars, and he's hoping that they can see him in their mirrors.
Well, I'll tell you, he's got one of the gang from Trois-Rivières just sitting in front of him now, and they're going to have to play this one very carefully as they again begin to dance through the field. Our race leaders, again, keep in mind, 71 John Cadman Jr. is in front.
Now, he was held up a little bit, but he got through cleanly. The other car moved over, let him by, let Spenard through. Richard, a nice little slide very close to the wall. So far, the race is going exactly the way Cadman would want it. He's not been held up for any length of time behind one of the slower cars.
Just watching number 8 there, Norman Hing, who they just flew by, and actually Norm is trying to hang on to Spenard. I don't think he'll have much success with that for a lap or two.
There's Cadman setting up for the start-finish straight, car number 71. We can see Spenard right behind him as they pass the entrance to the pit road and head into this very fast left-hander.
Out of the last right-hander, and John Cadman Jr. gets the checkered flag, his first victory in the Players Limited GM Motorsport Series, and he does it before a record-setting crowd at Exhibition Place in Toronto. The final standings, John Cadman Jr. the winner, Richard Spenard second, then Rob Fellows, Empringham, and Robin Buck back in fifth. We'll be back at the winner's podium right after this.
In third place from Mississauga,
you know, we
Ontario,
had speculated at Mont-Tremblant that this young man, John Cadman Jr., was showing some talents that were bound to come to the fore. Well, they certainly did here at Exhibition Place. John Cadman Jr. grabs the victory, much to the consternation, I'm sure, of Richard Spenard, who would love to have continued his domination here.
And the winner, a first-time winner, who takes home a check for $6,000 from Cayuga, Ontario. The gold medal goes to John Cadman Jr.
Young John Cadman Jr. basking in a finest moment of his young racing career. How did the Western competitors do? Well, they were led by number 91, in fact, Trevor Siebert. Right on Trevor was number 5, Kevin Dowler, then Frank Allers, not finishing Tony Morris. Let's go back to the awards platform.
Thank you, and for all those race fans out there, I think we have to say it's really exciting to see a first-time winner on the platform here today. It really is a true indication of what this series has been designed to do, and on the 5th anniversary of the Molson Indy, it's just a pleasure to have GM of Canada and players here for our 5th year in a row, and to bring in new talent, to have them be able to demonstrate their outstanding driving skills, and to have that wind up with a winner here on this afternoon's event. And we really appreciate the support from all of you race fans. Thank you very much.
Beautiful sting of that champagne. One more time for John Cadman Jr. A victory. First one, John.
It feels good. It's been a long time coming, and I'll tell you, it feels great.
What better crowd to do it in front of, too, than right here in Toronto at the 5th anniversary Indy?
That's for sure. I said today, if I could win one race all year, it'd be the Molson Indy. But hopefully this won't be the only one.
STP left in there to support you for the weekend as well.
Yeah, they've been supporting me for the last couple of years now, and I thank them, and I thank my other sponsor, Capital Tool and Design. Without them, I wouldn't be here.
I tell you, how come you didn't lead that first lap?
It was a bit scary. At first, Rob got a good start, and he just got by me in corner 1, but followed him for a lap, and I was able to get by him.
Never threatened, really?
No, I figured the key to win this race with such experienced drivers behind me was to not make a mistake, and I didn't.
You're going beyond the shootout thoughts this year. I think you want to be the champion, eh?
Well, I think it's a little late for that now. We had some unfortunate incidents earlier in the year that cost us a lot, but we're fighting just for the top 6 now, and I hope to be at that shootout.
Way to go, John Cadman Jr. Well done.
Thanks very much.
So, as a result of this finish, a little change in the Eastern Series standings after this event at Exhibition Place. Well, that's it. I'm Jim Paulson for Paul Jader saying farewell from Toronto.
The GM Motorsport Hour, brought to you by General Motors of Canada Limited and by Quality GM Parts, Players Limited of Canada, Priority Courier, and Sony of Canada.
Join us next week on the GM Motorsport Hour when we take the Players Limited GM Motorsport Series to their only oval at Cayuga in Southern Ontario.